I'm Richard Socarides. I'm from New York City, New York. My father was, his name was Charles Socarides, MD. He was, the founder or one of the founders of the school of psychiatry that believed that homosexuality was a mental illness and that it could be cured through psychotherapy. And he was a New York psychiatrist, quite well known, had a thriving practice, wrote in 1967, maybe 68, one of the early psychoanalytic treatises on the issue of homosexuality called The Overt Homosexual, which I do believe, as I recall, was dedicated to me and my sister. So it was with this background that he became quite famous. CBS News did a very now well-known like 60 Minutes type special called The Homosexual, in which they filmed him in his class that he taught at Albert Einstein Medical College on the treatment of homosexuality.
Homosexuality is in fact a mental illness which has reached epidemiological proportions.
I don't look so much like the old him, but if you look at that film a little bit, you can kind of see the family resemblance. It's kind of a little scary. My parents were divorced when I was six though, and he moved out, and I first lived with my mom. And I missed him a great deal. So when I was about 13, I moved back in with my dad, and we lived on the Upper East Side on 78th Street in a townhouse, and his office was downstairs. So there was this, kind of on one level there was this kid coming out, on the top level there was this kid coming out, and on the bottom level there were these people who were going to be cured of their homosexuality. His idea was, they should be treated just like any other neurotic. A couple of trips to the therapist, they should be just fine. He would occasionally ask me who I was dating, and I would say, kind of try to avoid it. By the time I was in law school, like all of my friends, most of my close friends knew. And I was in therapy at the time, and both my sister and my therapist said to me, they said, everybody who does this, you get to the other side of it and it's great, right? Everybody who does this, you come out to your parent, and even if the parent is like a little weird at the beginning, they realize that their relationship with their own flesh and blood, with their offspring, is like more important than this thing, and they get over it. And that, I think, is like a good rule for everybody. But I was suspicious. I said, I might be the exception to this rule. But finally one day, I made arrangements to come see him in the middle, this was the middle of the workday, to see him at his office. I sat down and I said, Dad, I think this is something that we've known for a long time together, but I'm gay, and we have to find a way to be more honest with each other about this. And he had a tendency for the dramatic. He was angry, but he certainly wasn't surprised and angry, and he was kind of looked surprised. So I kind of said, I'm going to give you some time to think about it, to take this in. And I left. It did not last a long time, and it did not have a good ending at that moment. And I just let it sit for a while. A relatively short interval of a couple of months in which we didn't speak to each other passed, and then he sent me a letter. And he sent me a beautiful letter, handwritten, 4 pages, in which he basically said, I'm sorry I behaved so badly. I'm sorry I got angry. You're the most important person to me in my life, and I love you, and the only thing that's important to me is your happiness. And if this is what makes you happy, I want to support you, and we'll just figure out a way to manage it. Now, that was a great moment, the letter was a great moment. It was not always that easy going forward, because he did not change what he was saying publicly about the treatment and cure of homosexuality. When people ask me about my dad, what's the first thing they say? They say, did he ever try to cure you? And it's like an obvious question, and the answer is no. I mean, it literally never came up. He never once said to me, I have an idea, I have this theory, and we can get you some help for this. It's quite sad, because as a kid, I had a relationship with him that was terrific. There's a lot of warmth and affection between the two of us, and we were never really able to, well, we never came close to rebuilding that. But we had a relationship that was, based on honesty, authenticity, integrity, at least, coming from me. So it was much better. My story is no harder nor easier than anybody else's. It's just, it's just my story. It is a little stranger than most. And it's kind of like a wow, so it's like just part of who I am.